Yo, just got to Officeworks and I'm going to show you some key tools you can use to create your stippling brush. We're going to go through and check it out, and hopefully you guys can check this out. You can see there, Officeworks. This is like the go-to place if you're an Aussie, and you can probably buy this stuff on Amazon or your local art store. I think Eckersley's as well in Australia is good, but yeah, let's go check it out. Guys, I think this is the first time I'm using this camera right now. Better lock the car, guys. Can't trust people out here. So you can see there's like heaps of selection. Typically what I like to get for these stippling brushes is these multi-liner pens, which is really cool. So if you check these out, you've got the Statler brand here. You can get a 0.1. So they've all got these like points on the, hopefully you guys can see that. But it's like a different thickness. So you can see how it's like a bit thick. Yeah, like you can choose which one you want. It doesn't really make it much of a difference. It will make the stippling effect a bit more thicker. So just keep that in mind when you're picking the right one. Typically, if you want to go really fine dots, then it would take a lot longer, but you can go for like the 0.2, then 0.5, and probably a 1 is fine as well. So those ones are really good. You've got the Copic multi-liners. And then also we could probably just get a normal pen. You can also use these Sharpies as well. Sharpies are always really, really cool, really good to use, and they've got a nice thickness, and you can see it's very chunky. Hopefully you guys can see that, but they are going to give you the best results. So they just cost around like, you know, a few dollars, not too much, but if you do grab those, then you're gonna have an awesome effect. So now I'm just going to look for some brushes. So a cool thing about doing stippling is like you can use sponges or some bristle like simple brushes. You can just buy the cheapest one, right? So for example, let's go over here. So you can see here, there's always like different brush packs and stuff like that. So you can see you could just use a basic like little sponge like this or something like this. You know, this one's like $5, this one's like 10 bucks, but that could give you some interesting results. And then we could just buy something simple. So you can see some of these brushes here. You can see how it's got like these ends. And this is going to help us when we're like doing a dabbing effect. So like when we're like dabbing on the paper, which is really cool. So I'd probably go for more like a round one. So you can see this one's like more round, and it's got like it's got some bristles there. So that could work really well. And how much is this? This is only like $3, right? So it's very, you know, it's inexpensive, and it can work really well. And if you're gonna go for the sponge or the brush effect, we need some acrylic paint as well. So I'm just gonna quickly go there. So you've got heaps of different acrylic paints, and all we want is the black one. So you can see this. Doesn't even have a price, but it's like $4. So you can see this one, super detailed. It's just yeah, the basic black color, which is really cool.
So once you've got all your gear, your pencils and pens, then you want to get some piece of paper and then try and get a coin. I'm using this sticky tape here to get some circles so I can have a reference point or a grid line, just so I can know to make the stippling brush in a circular motion. Then what I start to do, I start to dab down in a dabbing motion. I do experiment a little, but you want to dab in a steady pace. Obviously this clip is sped up, but you want to dab around. If you want it more thick, do a lot more dots. If you want the brush to be more lighter, then do less dots. Just experiment, do a whole bunch of different ones, you know, make the center more thicker, and I tend to like to spread out on the ends and make it more lighter on the ends, just so you have this nice sort of like gradient fading out effect. And I just use each different one that I had, and I just dab away in making the dots, and pretty much that's what you do. So once you've created your stippling brushes, what you want to do is take a high quality picture with your phone or with a good camera, and we want to bring it into Photoshop. You can see I've just dragged and dropped the image here into Photoshop, and you can see at the top level here, I've got all my stippling brushes. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the other ones are more experimental. They're more scatter brushes and art brushes, which is fine, and I can use that for another instance. But for this one, I'm just going to quickly crop it. So you can press C to crop the image, just so I can focus on these here. And then what I want to do is we're going to change the color mode to actually grayscale. So I'm going to go to the top and click image mode grayscale. So this will get rid of any color, and we just want to keep it in without color, so black and white. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go to the right side, and I'm going to go press this little button at the bottom right, and we want to go to levels. And you should get this box pop up in your properties panel on the levels. And what we want to do is we want to make the blacks pop out, and we want to get rid of any gray. So I'm going to drag the black slider up. I can drag this mid one and also this white one like this. So now you can see it's starting to get rid of everything, and it's making everything just straight black, getting rid of any excess rubbish like the grays and stuff. You can see this brush here sort of got destroyed because that was with the pen, and that's alright. And you can see this one sort of got cleaned up, and then this one's kind of nice. But you can see, like, originally you can see how it's used to look, and then now what we're doing here. And this is just going to make sure that when we vectorize our brush in Illustrator, that it's going to look as good as possible. And if you still have like the lead from the pencil and you didn't rub it out or erase it, you can grab the middle bar, right? And you can drag the middle bar all the way to the little black slider here, as you can see there. So it's just a matter about playing with that and then bringing that white all the way as well. So you can see my sliders here. So overall, that looks like pretty cool. And I think these will do fine. So what I want to do, I'm going to save a JPEG of this image. It can be a high quality. I'm just going to save it to the desktop. We'll call it Stippling Brush. And then we're going to go into Illustrator and start to edit that. So I have my Illustrator file. You can open a normal generic file. I'm going to drag and drop my stippling brushes in here. I'm just going to get rid of the artboard so it's just all white. So now we have an image. And what we need to do, we need to actually image trace this image now. So if you did a good job with, making the blacks really dark and then getting rid of the grays, then it should image trace good. So I'm going to select this and click image trace up the top left corner. You can see there. I'm going to click image trace. And what Illustrator will do, it will turn everything into shapes, right? But before we can make it into a shape and expand it, we want to edit this. So you can see it got rid of this brush because it was too light, but these other ones, this one's usable. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this little button here next to the tracing result. Click that. And what I'm going to do is just bring up the advanced button so you can use this little drop down menu. We want to make sure that preview's on. And what we can actually do, we can actually play around with these parameters. So the threshold, the paths, and the corners. So I can bring this down and it will decrease the amount of like shape or black. I can increase the threshold to increase sort of the detail there, as you can see. With the paths, less paths makes the shapes less organic because it's having less anchor points, and it will make it less laggy. But if you drag the paths up to high, it means more anchor points, more detail, more organic feel. As you can see there, it's more choppy. So you want to sort of find an in-between. I like to have mine around 70 to 80%, typically works well. For corners, if you want rounded corners, like more circular, then you want to, bring it down. If you want it higher, then you can bring that up. If you want it more like triangular, but for a stippling effect, you want to try and make it round as possible. And then the noise just decreases sort of the little vectors or little more shapes. And if I bring that up, it will get rid of it, as you can see there. But we want to have that sort of like flaring out, as you can see, more dots, which is good. So keep the noise low, and you can obviously adjust it to maybe clean it up a little bit. So this is the settings I'm using. You can see the threshold, 80%, 0%, and 4 pixels. I might just play with the threshold, see makes a difference. Yeah, maybe I'll keep it at 185. Sweet, and I think that works well. Then once you're happy with the result, you go to the top corner on the left, and you can see this big button that says expand. We want to click that, and this will expand our brushes into shapes. I'm just going to delete this outer box. So you can see these are all groups. So I'm going to double click in there. You can see there's this shape here. I'm going to delete that shape. So now we've got our brushes here. This one I'm going to delete that because that's just how it is. Sometimes it doesn't work as well. And what I want to do, I want to make sure that this is all ungrouped. So right now I can see that there's some paths that are connected together. So to ungroup things, you can go to Object and you can click Ungroup. If you've already done that, as you can see, I've done that with my shortcut keys. What I have to do is make it a compound path. So what's happening is Illustrator is reading all of these as one shape. So I just go to Object, Compound Path, and click Release. And now it should be by itself. So what I'm going to do is select the brush and all the details in the one, press Ctrl G to group, or go to Object and click Group. So I'll group this one, I'll group this one, I'll group this one, and I'll group this one. So now we've got 4 stippling brushes here, and they don't have to look exactly like mine. You just experiment and see what works for you. Now what we want to do is you want to open your brush panel. So you go to Window and then you go to Brushes. Then you'll get this brush panel pop up. I'm going to go to the menu here and I'm going to select all unused and delete all the ones because I don't want to see other ones I'm not using. And I want to have this one here. So I'm going to drag my stippling brush, and what I want to do, I want to drag it and drop it into this. What you want to do is you want to make it a scatter brush. I'm going to press OK. And with this, what you can actually do, you can actually play with the sizing, the spacing, the scatter, and the rotation. If you have a Wacom tablet or something with a pen, you can change it to pressure, but because I'm not using one, I'll leave it on fixed. Then I can call this, medium brush or whatever you want. And I can play around with these parameters, spacing, scatter, rotation. This just makes it more organic when you're using the brush in illustrations. With colorization, you can always change this later, but you can put it on tints and shades, hue shift. It's up to you. I typically just put on tints and shades, which is fine, but I'll leave my brush on black, press OK. So now I've got this one stippling brush, and I'll do the same for all the others really quickly. Once you're happy with your stippling brushes, I'm going to show you how you can use it on a quick example here with the bison. And what I typically do when I'm using stippling brushes is I'll make duplicates of the shapes and the base shapes of my illustration or design. So I'll ungroup everything so you can see I've got all these separate shapes. So what I'll do, I'll grab the base shape, I'll press Ctrl C, Ctrl F. So now we have got this extra one. I'll just change the color so we can see what we're doing here. As you can see that. And then I'll press B from a brush tool. You can also use the pen tool to make a path. I will select my first brush that I liked. And then what I'll do is I'll start to go on the edges on the top here. And I can even go around all the way across like this. And I can drop this a little bit because it's a little bit too big. I can extend the path if I press P for the pen tool and then slowly go down his face because I missed the other side. And it can be very rough. Make sure we want to try and make it look a bit organic, so don't do it too precise. And I'm thinking that's looking really cool. And what I'm going to do is go to my transparency panel and go to multiply. And then I want to make sure that this yellow shape is on top of this brush. I'll go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Then I'll hold Shift and select my path where my stippling brush is. Then I will go to Object, Clipping Mask, and click Make. And this should add that into the shape as you can see here. And if I show you what it looks like on top of the bison, you can see there, it's starting to have this cool effect. And if I want to edit it, I can put my mouse over it and you can see that the path will show up. And I press A for the direct selection tool and I can start to manipulate or edit the stippling effect. I can also double click on the path and then I can go into isolation mode to start to move it around as well if I want to do it this way. And just tweak some areas that are not looking the best. As you can see there, and I'm editing within that clipping mask, which is really cool. Beautiful. Love that look that it's having right now. And if I zoom in, you can see that it's not exactly like the red color I want. It's sort of this brownie color because it's on multiply mode. What I can do is if I select my clipping mask or if I double click and select the actual path itself, I can change the transparency to maybe 50% and that will make it a little bit lighter. If I want to have it the exact same color as the back color, all I have to do is go to my brushes, double click on the actual brush that we have in the panel. and I'll have to change my colorization method to hue shift. So if it's on tints, make sure it's on hue shift. And this will allow me to go to my swatches panel. I'll just turn the multiply off for a second. And this should allow me to change the color of the actual stippling brush, as you can see like that. So then I can just have it the same color as the background, and it'll just make it blend a lot more nicer, as you can see here. I don't know what happened, but the gray box just got a brush. I'll bring this over here, and now you can see what it looks like. It's looking really, really nice with just that one little effect. And then I'll add some over here. I'll group these two together, and the best way to do this is press object, go to compound path, and make a compound path, and this will allow us to make just a simple one group with that. And then I'm going to make my stippling effect, and it's a little too big, so once again drop it to maybe 0.5, and I'm gonna click overlay, and then I have the copy on top, and then I can hold shift, select that, and press F3 for my clipping mask shortcut. And now you can see we've got sort of this nice little effect there that's just looking amazing. Awesome. And then I might add a little bit more. Let's go for the red here. So I'm going to make sure that I'm just selecting these parts like this. I'll go and make a compound path again. If you have shortcuts, everything will be a lot easier. I'll duplicate this shape, so I've got these group of shapes together. And then once again, I'll just add a bit of, as you can see there, make sure that it's small. Like that. Try and go with the motion of the shape. And then because our brush is a little small, I'm just going to go hold shift and just quickly make sure that it's 0.5. And then bring this up. And then I'm just going to quickly group all these together. So I'm just holding shift and left clicking to group all the brushes. Press Ctrl G. Now I've got these all in a group, as you can see here. I'll press Ctrl Z to bring it back, and then I'm going to make a clipping mask from that. And then now if I jump in here, click these, and maybe change to color dodge, you should be able to see it. There you go. And because it's a bit too much, I'm going to drop the opacity maybe to 60%. And once again, I could always go in here and edit the amount, but I think it's looking really, really slick right now. I think I'll just leave that. Awesome. So from looking from a flat to this, it looks a way, way better. And then I can add some more texture in the back of the one, or even to the background. So you can see we've got this part of the illustration, the sort of the key outlines. I can even do one of that really quickly. And I'm just going to do a general brush like this, and I'll maybe make it a bit lighter. Make it the lighter color. Let's see what multiply does, and maybe go like 40%. Bring that up and make sure, make it a bit. So I've got this, and make sure this is above that. And then sometimes when you make a clipping mask, if it's got a lot of detail, I'll ask you that it's very complex, just press yes, and it will still make the clipping mask. As you can see now, the clipping mask is in the shape there. So if I drag this out, so you can see there, it adds just a bit more detail. Beautiful. Lovely detail. And if I kept going, we could make it even better and better and better. One cool tip as well, you can even add just a general brush to the outside of the stroke. So if I select this and go to the stroke, this might lag your computer sometimes, but if I click and I'll make it maybe 0.25, it might lag your computer, so keep that in mind. You can see I can add like a fuzzy thing, but yeah, it might not look too good. It does look very grainy, but yeah, it just depends how you want to approach the texturing part of it. And I'm just gonna change the background. Let's see how it's gonna look. And boom, there we have our nice bison / ox character. And I think the brushes make it look and pop and feel great. And the more time we spend on it, we can make it look better. But thanks guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed something and hope you enjoyed creating your own stippling brushes. Make sure that you apply them to your own illustrations and designs, because you can do crazy things with them. You know, I can add them to shapes. Maybe I want to add like a circle in the background of this bull, of this bison, and I want to add maybe the thick one. I will click that, and I'll make it the dark color, make it multiply, make sure that it's visible like this. Maybe I can make it even bigger and drop the opacity. So you can even add like this, you know, cool background or something like that. And I can play around with the colors or the transparency panel. So I'm always like playing around with this to see how we can make it like look better. I'm just gonna keep it simple, drop it back to that. And there we have it. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Can you do me a favor and just hit like, comment, and subscribe on this video if you liked it or got some value out of it? It really helps the channel grow and helps me out. Thanks so much. I hope to see you in the next video.